This is the Sic Em Podcast. The Sic Em Podcast is a production of Baylor Athletics. Now, here are your hosts, Brooke Bednarz and the voice of the Bears, John Morris.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's Sic Em Podcast. Glad you're with us. John Morris, Brooke Bednarz. Brooke, happy homecoming. It's homecoming on the Baylor campus this week.
Yes, I am super excited. This is actually my third homecoming
Fantastic.
for Baylor. My very first week, I just hit working here 2 years, and my very first week working here was homecoming.
What a way to start.
I know. It was very exciting. I got thrown into all the homecoming activities, and fortunately that was 2019, so everything was normal. And then I got to experience a COVID homecoming, which was, abnormal, but very excited to be able to dive in with Dr. Burchett here and hear all the things and how we're going to get back to normal this year.
So much going on. We welcome Dr. Matt Burchett, Assistant Dean of Philanthropic Engagement and Senior Director of Student Activities. I'm going to go with Matt, if that's okay.
That's perfect.
Okay. Matt, good to see you. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
I'm trying to do the math. If this is your third homecoming, for me, this is my 44th homecoming. How about that?
That's
44th.
awesome.
44
Yeah.
homecomings.
Is that right? Goes back to 1977.
Do you have a favorite homecoming that you can remember?
This year's.
He took the easy way
Is that
out
a
of
cop-out
that
That
one.
was
answer
easy.
right there.
Yeah, I did.
That was easy.
No, I mean, they've all been great in their own way, and doing the parade is always fun. We've had every kind of weather doing the parade.
Every kind of weather. It always makes it interesting this time of year. You never know in mid-October. This week it looks like it's going to be a little gloomy, a little gray.
Right.
But it kind of feels like homecoming too, right, John?
Yeah.
But a little bit
taste
more
of fall.
Yeah,
Right.
Cool weather. I feel like cool weather. Homecoming, they kind of go hand in hand.
Bring it on.
It'll be cooler for the bonfire.
That's right. If you're going to have a big old
Not be
bonfire, it
sweating
needs to
out
be
there.
cooler.
Yeah.
Amen.
Well, Matt, thanks for being with us. I know it's a very busy week for you, and thanks for your time. But it is a big week, isn't it, on the Baylor campus?
It's a huge week. This is our 100
It is the 97th and 112th.
112th year
yes, 97th
overall.
consecutive.
Yeah, we had a couple years where we had to take some time off due to World War I, World War II, where we didn't have it in consecutive years. And in the onset of the tradition, we didn't have it every single year. But yeah, 112 years later.
Yep.
And this is my 14th homecoming.
There you go. All right, very good.
I was trying to track back the math in my head because we were here for the 100th anniversary celebration.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Back in 2009, I was like, okay, I got to do my math really quickly. But it's a huge week, and it's one of the most storied traditions on the Baylor campus, and certainly a time when alumni and family and friends alike all come together with a really meaningful set of activities to. The original invitation to homecomings was to return to Baylor, to renew former associations and catch that Baylor spirit again. It was so simple, such a simple invitation. But that simple invitation really rings true today in that you're going to come back, you're going to remember the people and the places that meant so much to you during your undergraduate experience, and hopefully just remind yourself why Baylor is such a special place to you and hopefully to those who are in your circle.
And so many people do that. I mean, I know at other schools, homecoming is, maybe they have it, but it's not a big deal. But it really is a big deal here, and people, Baylor folks, Baylor alums, really look forward to this week.
Oh, they look forward to it, and they anticipate us making the announcement of when homecoming is going to be every single year when the football schedule comes out, and people are always guessing and wondering. And there's just so much to do and to experience while you're here this week, whether it's going to the bonfire, the extravaganza, whether it's attending Pigskin Review, going to the parade. For our students, too, it's a very monumental time, particularly in the first-year experience, because you're having the first opportunity to do a homecoming worship, which we did. I'm talking about Monday now, so last night was Monday. Vertical and Passion did a big worship service to kick off the week, and that's a nod to our original tradition whenever George W. Truett, who was the pastor of First Baptist Dallas at the time, came and gave a sermon to kick off the first homecoming.
Wow.
And so we always have a worship service as a nod to that tradition of we always start homecoming with some level of acknowledgement of our Christian mission, Christian heritage, and celebration of what God has done at Baylor and through Baylor throughout the course of the year between the last homecoming. And so, but for our first-year students, that really monumental moment of homecoming as being this initiation into the Baylor family. They have a lot of great moments of the first time they run the line, then when they go to line camp, or when they have their first day of classes. But mass meeting is a really critical time, because that's when we first introduce them to the idea of the Baylor spirit and what the Baylor spirit means to us as a family. The Baylor spirit recognizing that we live our lives on behalf of other people. We sacrifice and use our time, talent, and treasure to impact the world in the most significant way. And so that's the first introduction, and that happens later this week. And we're so thrilled for our first year class to have that moment. We missed that moment last year during COVID, and we're just so excited to welcome them once again into that tradition.
Is there anything specific about last year's class that, will they get to? I know this year we have the largest freshman class, so they might fill the area themselves, but is there any special things that you're doing to include those sophomores that they kind of had that odd year last year?
Yeah, it's a great question. We were really fortunate last year in that homecoming was actually the first event we allowed our students to come back to during the COVID year. And so it took a lot of work and a lot of negotiation with our health management team that I happen to serve on. And but we in those moments last year, even in the height of the pandemic, we recognized the importance of homecoming, what homecoming means to our students, what it means to our family. And so we were able to do a homecoming celebration that included a lot of the elements that we have. Not all of them. We couldn't do parade, but we had floats on display. We did our pep rally, we did extravaganza. We were able to hear from the president, and John and Lori were great hosts, as they normally are, for our pep rally. And so we were able to do a lot of the things last year, even though we were in a really precarious time in the university's life. That said, mass meeting is open to all students, and we're inviting our sophomores back, and they get a chance to experience the traditional mass meeting. So everyone's welcome to come back and join us for that specific experience. And then hopefully people will be incredibly enthusiastic about the remaining parts of the weekend between bonfire, extravaganza, and parade and pigskin. So, of course, everyone's always enthusiastic about Pigskin Review. We don't have a hard time selling tickets to Pigskin, say the least. But you do have a really unique opportunity for Pigskin. We are opening up to a virtual option. So if you're not able to come back for homecoming and you still want to watch the show live, you can watch it in the comfort of your own home. And so you can buy a virtual digital ticket, and we'll send you a code, and then you have the opportunity then to watch it in the comfort of your home.
Interesting. First time for that, right?
First time for that.
Yeah. And am I right? I didn't realize this until somebody told me last week. So for Pigskin, it's the top 8 acts from Sing from last year. We didn't have Sing last year. So this goes back 2 years, right?
2 years. So the 2020 Sing, which is that was the last event we did before the shutdown.
Wow.
Oh, my goodness.
With the last 2 weekends of February, we finished out the last weekend of Sing, and then 1 week later is when we went off for spring break and the shutdown happened. So that was the last major event we did. So those students never got an opportunity to come back and do Pigskin Review the way that we had hoped them to be able to do it. And so, they're bringing back all those acts from 2020 and being able to do them here, which we're thrilled about. And so, yeah.
Let's go through the week. You mentioned the worship service on Sunday or Monday night. That has already taken place as we record this on Tuesday. We're looking at a nice concert on Fountain Mall coming up this evening. Yeah,
so we have dinner at the Livingstones tonight. And so it's a tradition that was started at her inauguration, actually. This is when we were planning the inauguration for Dr. Livingstone, she said, I want to do a very student-centric event as a part of my inaugural ceremonies. And so we came up with this concept of everyone just going to her house for dinner.
Yeah.
That's great.
How much more student-centered can you
get? Exactly. So having the big meal at her house in her yard. And so we're really fortunate that thousands and thousands of students show up to this event every single year.
That's
so
great.
Every year, we're much like other traditions at Baylor, we keep upping this ante. It's like, well, we started out with 6 food trucks, and now we're up to 10 food trucks. Now we're up to 14 food trucks, where everyone just kind of circles all Britain and has an opportunity to enjoy a meal with Brad and Dr. Livingstone, wandering the grounds and taking pictures. And they set up a selfie station where they can take pictures on their front porch, much like you would at a normal family gathering. And so with hay and pumpkins and the whole scene,
thing.
Without the conflict that comes with family pictures, typically, hopefully. But, and so it's a really beautiful evening. They set up twinkle lights all throughout the trees, and that's a design that will stay there all the way through the Halloween weekend, where if you don't already know this, one of the traditions, during her inauguration speech, Dr. Livingstone made a joke about, if you ever come and trick or treat at my house at Albritton, I won't give you the small candy. I'll give you the full-size candy.
Oh, wow.
I would be going to that house.
And so from that point forward, students have knocked on her door and asked for full-size Snickers and full-size Skittles. They don't want the kid pack. They want the real deal.
That's great.
And so, I mean, last year we set up a specific event around that, and she gave out thousands of candy bars and Snickers and full bags of M&Ms. And so that was a financial commitment she made her inauguration, kind of inadvertently, but our students have really embraced it. So when we were able to set up this beautiful setting at her home during homecoming, it really carries through for the next couple weeks as she welcomes students consistently back to her house to enjoy, in this circumstance, free meal on her, and Halloween, a full-size bag of candy.
That's great.
The dinner tonight, is that all students?
All students are welcome.
All students.
All students are welcome. We normally have somewhere between 4,000 to 5,000 students show up for the evening, and then we do have a concert. So Apollo LTD will be performing live. It's the band that played the song for our national commercial this year. So they'll be playing live as a part of that whole experience at the Albritton House.
That's so neat. I love that. Because you go off to college and, you try to make it feel as homey as possible. But, it's never the same. It's not the same thing. You're not going to your parents' house every weekend. And so to have that with the home feel, I mean, Dr. Livingstone and Brad, they're at everything. I feel like they're like the best, and this is not a demotion when I say this, but like the best team mom and dad. They are at everything. They're right there. And the students really know them. And I went to a different school, and seeing the comparison of like how many people actually have seen and talked to her, and to have that be a part of the homecoming experience, I think is just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it's a great way to kick off the week. If we look at the cadence of how homecoming kind of comes together over that 5 to 6 day time frame, to start out with worship, and to start out with a dinner at someone's home. Mm-hmm. It's very emblematic of who we are at Baylor, how we're committed to each other and how we're committed to Christ. And it's not symbolic. I mean, it is literal. And as we play that out tangibly throughout the homecoming weekend, I know there's a lot of focus on the Pigskin Review, a lot of focus on building a huge fire in the middle of campus, which you talk about things that are a bit on the silly side, right? Like, here, we're going to build a huge fire, surround it with people and buildings. But it's such a unique part of who we are as a campus community. But we get a lot of attention to those fun events, but really the core of our student experience is around worship, around coming together around a table to have a meal together, and then about learning about the Baylor Spirit and those who sacrificed on our behalf so we can have this experience today in 2021.
Very meaningful. All right, so that's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. What's on the agenda Wednesday?
Wednesday's just a day off.
Okay.
Technically. We still have pigskin rehearsals, and we're setting up and getting ready for Thursday.
Gearing up.
But
relative
day off.
Right.
Not a slate of activities on Wednesday night.
All right, and then Thursday, things really get cranking on Thursday.
Here we go. So Thursday's fun. So Thursday, we have our first showing at Pigskin Review.
Where can people get tickets? Where can people get tickets?
You can try to get tickets. I think we may be sold out.
That's a good thing. That's a good problem.
The Bill Daniel Student Center ticket office is what houses those. So you can go to the homecoming website. That's probably the best place to go.
Same thing for the virtual tickets. Though.
Same thing for virtual tickets. Same thing for grandstands. So we can talk about that when we get to the parade. But so Thursday night's our first showing at Pigskin Review. That's when the homecoming court is revealed, which we're really excited about. There's a modest change to that tradition this year. It was Queen her court for a number of years, and so this year we expanded that tradition to be homecoming court, so it includes males now. And so we'll have a king and a queen, and so we just, as we looked up at some of these traditions and continued to evaluate how we evolve over time, we just recognized there was a great opportunity to acknowledge young men who are doing really significant work in philanthropy and service to community in their academic rigor, much like we do for our female students. And so we've expanded that tradition. We had a really great response from our male students who wanted to participate in that tradition. So we'll have a king and queen this year, and we'll have a part of the court will be males and females. And so that'll be a relatively new kind of addition on Thursday night. And then mass meeting will be one of the more meaningful opportunities for our students to gather up together. Rain is in the forecast on Thursday, so right now we're scheduled for Fountain Mall. We'll see if we can do Fountain Mall. If we don't do Fountain Mall, we'll do the indoor practice facility. But it has the mass meeting. For those of you who haven't gone, and if you're an alumni, you're welcome to come. We'd love for you to show up. and be a part of that experience with us. But there's Neil Knighton, for nearly 40 years, has read the story of the Immortal 10.
Oh, he does a great job.
Each individual young man who passed away during that experience, and what they meant to the community, and what they participated in, whether at Baylor, and what they majored in. And that's a huge part of the tradition, is telling their story. We tell that story so that we can say they embody the Baylor spirit, that one man would choose to sacrifice their lives for the well-being of another. Kind of that epicenter of the Abe Kelly story, of Abe Kelly being the captain and one of the senior leaders of that team, seeing the train descend upon the bus and grabbing his friend and pushing him out the window and saving his life. That's why he sits at the forefront of the Immortal 10 statue here on campus. And as we pass that eternal flame from generation to generation, seniors pass to juniors, who pass to sophomores, who now pass to the first-year students, that story is such a powerful moment for our incoming students to recognize that they have joined something that is far bigger than themselves. That is a tradition that dates back 90-plus years, 93 years at this point. But more importantly, they join a Baylor story. It's in progress, 175 years of tradition, and of sacrifice, and of contribution. And it's their call to action. It's the, what will you contribute now? You have 4 years ahead of you, which is shorter than you think, right? It is shorter than you think. What will you contribute to this place so that others may enjoy it and cherish it and love it the way you cherish it and love it too? Coach Taft will not be able to join us this year, unfortunately. But a number of years ago, we captured one of his speeches and archived it, so we're able to still share some of the great stories that Coach Taft brings to that tradition, who had been another long-standing speaker at Mass Meeting. And then, of course, the evening ends with a very enthusiastic benediction from Coach Drew. He doesn't bring this. He doesn't bring a very solemn prayer. No. It's a very pep rally-esque prayer, and so he brings the energy as Coach Drew typically does, and so he's done that for the last number of years for us, which is really fun.
Lots of joy with him.
I saw what you did there.
Very good.
Saw what you did there. And then the bonfire will have been built already, and then they'll go out and do some things with the bonfire that evening, and then we start up Friday.
And then Friday comes.
Yes. We're just going to keep you going.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Walk us through the whole week.
This is where I don't sleep. Friday's great. It's a day full of reunions, day full of activities for our alumni to engage. Campus is just buzzing and alive and fun. And so I love Friday. I love the interactions. When I tell our students that whenever we're tired and we're worn out and we have these moments of just like, I can't take another step. It's just been every evening and every day for the last few months, really, but in this intense week that we're working through, I'm like, keep your eyes open to these really sweet moments. You'll see a best friend they haven't seen in a year or 2 or 10. And there's this moment where they run towards each other and embrace. And you're like, what a beautiful moment that this weekend created for them. And now for us. Or you see a multi-generational family, a grandfather, grandmother with a grandchild, teaching them about Baylor, showing them the things that meant so much to them, taking them to the bear habitat, taking them to the Barfield drawing room, taking them to the quadrangle. And you see these moments of kind of passing along of a legacy. It's just, there's all these small moments of connection and belonging, and it makes you realize that's why we do what we do. We're not doing it to start a fire or to get really pumped up about a football game, although that's an outcome, right? We're doing it because this weekend facilitates such beautiful opportunities for people to not only be reminded, but to have this moment of relationship and connection that just brings you back home. Hence the name, brings you back home, and just reminds you of all that was really good and sweet about your time at Baylor. So as long as we keep our eyes open to that, it gives us great energy and great enthusiasm, because you realize that the event that we're planning, the experience we're sacrificing for, has purpose and has meaning beyond just some of the traditions we're executing. But all those moments are happening. Obviously, we have 2 performances of Pigskin on Friday night. We are bookended by the Extravaganza Bonfire. We have a really unique introduction this year, which we're excited to host for the first time ever. We are celebrating our African American and Black students in a really thoughtful way by hosting the 10th anniversary of the MPHC Garden, which is a garden dedicated to our African American fraternities and sororities on campus. It's the 10th anniversary of that garden, which we're really thrilled to celebrate. Then we have a huge reception hosted by the Department of Multicultural Affairs, and then and then a step show right in the middle of the Barfield Drawing Room with our students. And so the Royal and Blue Step Show hosted by Phi Beta Sigma. And so we are thrilled. That's the first time we're able to host this kind of collection of events in the prime time of our homecoming celebration. And so that continual evolution of a tradition as we try to invest in our student body in really thoughtful ways as we hear that feedback and then try to respond as thoughtfully as we can. And so after the step show, we'll have the extravaganza bonfire, light that big fire in the middle of campus, and then Pigskin Review happens, the late show. So for those brave souls who do the 10:30 to 12:30 Pigskin Review, then just thank you for buying tickets to that. That's a late show.
That's a late night.
You're just powering through some stuff at that point in time. But and after that, we leave straight from Pigskin and we go straight to downtown Waco.
Wow!
And so we start setting up around 1 a.m. For the parade. And
you weren't kidding. This is really when you don't sleep.
No, we don't sleep. We don't sleep. There's some tired eyes by the end of this week, but we go right into it. We start shutting down roads and start mapping out the parade. For us, that means every single parade entry has a different length it needs from us, and so as we line them up on either side of Austin Avenue between 8th Avenue and 17th, 8th Street and 17th Street. We have to, entry 1 may be 6 feet. So we're mapping that out. And the entry 2 on the other side may need 30 feet. And so, the band's always a hard one. The Goldway band, they need like 120 feet.
Yeah.
But so we map that out. So every single entry gets their own location, and we make sure that we have enough space in every single location to ensure that a float or a balloon or a carriage or a car can all fit appropriately, so we can line them up so we can kind of zipper them in as we start the parade, because we start, we're going either side of the street, back and forth for 120, 130 entries. And so hopefully in order so that we don't mess up with John and Lori, because they have a list in front of them, and it is 1 through 120. And if I get off by one person, then John's like, welcome this float. And it's like, nope, that's a horse, not it.
Y'all do, and Chamber does a great job. So a great job in that. That is a monumental task.
Well, and it's, correct me if I'm wrong, but the nation's largest homecoming parade.
We will claim it.
Let's make that point. Yes,
we'll make it.
Absolutely.
And also verified by the Smithsonian. I was taught this in my very first week at Baylor.
You were.
Verified to be the oldest
yes.
homecoming.
Don't let anybody tell you any different.
1909. So it's been 112 years since that very first one. And this is the 97th homecoming because of those few years off.
And we've really kept the same rhythm. I mean, if you look at the first ever homecoming, by the way, it was the University of Missouri that claimed that they were the oldest, and that's why we had to challenge that very inaccurate statement from the University of Missouri that we were the oldest homecoming. And then,
where Mac Rhodes was once the athletic director.
So,
and we've had that conversation.
He found his way.
Yes, exactly.
He found the light. Oklahoma State makes similar claims, and so our president, I think, at times has some tension between her alma mater and the place in which she's.
I haven't heard that claim.
I think that would be a fun question to ask Dr. Livingston of who has the best homecoming, Oklahoma State or Baylor.
Yeah.
But no, the first homecoming was, I talked about it. It was the Truett, or the sermon by George W. Truett. It was a bonfire right in the middle of campus. It was following the bonfire that they had an old time soiree, which is a dance, kind of a fun little dance experience in the middle of campus. And the next morning they had a parade that marched right through downtown. At the time, people joined the parade, and the parade would come through downtown, and people just come in and follow along. They drove into the stadium.
Yeah.
And
right
so into the game.
Yeah.
And so the parade marched right into the game, and we beat Ann Rand University, now TCU, in our first ever homecoming game. So
perfect.
One of many victories against
John,
TCU.
Perfect.
You can call them Adran, you can call them TCU. They're still TCU.
They are.
That's fine.
But the parade's great. Our Grand Marshal this year is Coach Drew, and so he'll be leading the parade alongside of other dignitaries. And so, the tradition continues to evolve. We have I think 14 balloons this year in the parade.
Wow.
We're going to get dangerously close to being Macy's if we're not careful. We're still trying to convince them, by the way. If you have any connections with Macy's out there, we love to put our big bear in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade.
That would be great.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah.
We would love to do that. So if anyone out there has any connections with Macy's, give us a nod. We'd love to show up at Thanksgiving and fling that green and gold afar.
All right. little bit of construction around Waco, around campus, around I-35, just a little.
Just a tad.
Does that alter the parade route, or how do you handle that?
Yeah, just modestly.
Okay.
We had hoped to be able to go down Fifth Street. They didn't make as much progress as they anticipated this time of year, so we're just going down 4th Street.
Okay.
And so we're just going to keep going on Austin Avenue, still start at 8th in Austin, and launch from there. We'll go down to 4th Street, hang a right. We'll do a little turn on the access road on I-35, and then join campus on Fifth Street. So we'll probably have some unique moments with the parade, with some big floats and some ducking down, some big huge hills we have to climb over to get to different places. But by and large, I think we'll be able to keep the same route. And that 4th Street development too, with Fabled and some other storefronts that kind of come alongside that 4th Street. That's a really fun place to go down anyways.
Yeah.
And so we're really thrilled to be able to. We're thrilled that we're able to get under I-35. That was a question, even a few months ago, is will we even be able to do the parade we had thought we were going to do? And the fact that we're able to do the parade and go down 4th Street, starting downtown like Trish asked us to, we're just really excited and grateful for the city of Waco and their partnership with us.
So that is Saturday, and then anything going right up to the game, or does that kind of wrap it up and then give people a second to breathe, maybe you a nap, and then go to the football game?
Yeah, well, I know no one takes a breath during homecoming, which is part of the energy and excitement around it. All of us the parade will wrap up somewhere between 10 and 10:30. John and Lori will be delightful hosts on the parade route, announcing all the live stream. For those who can't join us on campus, you can watch it live. And then we leave straight from there and start setting up for football. We're only 4 hours out at that point. And so we already start student tailgating, and we start setting up the Baylor line. We have about 90 minutes in between the parade wrapping up and the Baylor line starting to join us in the queuing area. And so we'll go straight into the game, get the Baylor line all set up and ready to go, and then we'll do our normal launch, and hopefully we'll have a high level of energy from our student body. We've had really incredible support this year from our students, like we typically do. Our students always average somewhere between 65 and 75% of our collective student body comes to every single home football game.
Wow. Let's say that one more time.
Yeah, that's tremendous.
Very enthusiastically. 65 to 70% of the student body is at the football game.
It's at a football game. It is really incredible. I know I have grown accustomed to it now, because it's been since Floyd Casey days that our students have been this enthusiastic about football. But it really is an incredible percentage of our undergraduate population that comes to every single home football game. We have a high level of support from our student body. Just a comparison, our Big 12 colleagues, there's no one over 30%.
Wow.
Who will come to a home football game. And so for our students to come out the way they do, you got to think of 30% of our student body would be 3,000 to 4,000 people. We're in that 8, 9, 10,000 student a game range. And so we're way up there. And so, we always love our student support. We love the Baylor line. And one of my favorite traditions now, I love, and I've been sticking around for this more frequently, I love when the football team runs over and high-fives the Baylor line after the game.
Yeah.
Isn't that a great moment? I get really teary just thinking through that, it goes back to this relationship, this opportunity to be known and to know others. And even though it's a very cursory interaction, that expression of appreciation for each other, our students expressing appreciation for the athletes who competed and in those moments have won, and our athletes expressing appreciation for the students who power through 110, 120 degree weather, sitting in the sun the entire time to cheer them on. That exchange is a really beautiful moment. And I think at homecoming, it'll be really special to see that after we beat BYU. So,
and isn't it fun having BYU as the homecoming guest this year, future Big 12 opponent?
Yeah, I mean, who could have written the script better?
Right.
The fact that we have BYU at homecoming.
Right.
And, we're planning a handful of things to welcome them to the Big 12. They're one of our more enthusiastic partners, and I think their president's going to be in the parade and will be participating in a number of our homecoming activities.
Wow.
And so hopefully they receive a very warm welcome from the Baylor family. They've had a great year so far, really strong season, and bring a lot of unique characteristics to the Big 12. And so I'm excited to kick off the competition with them early, not 2 years from now, but this homecoming. So BYU will be a really fun and special game, and really thrilled to have them there.
and it'll also be, I know we celebrated the 10th anniversary of the Heisman last weekend, but it will be a homecoming for
that's
RG3.
right. Yeah.
He's the analyst for the game, so unfortunate he couldn't be here last weekend, but super exciting that he'll get to be here for homecoming and be a part of all of that as well. So, and I think we have the Sailor Bear helmets. I think we just announced that this morning.
All
so
right.
the Sailor Bear, yeah. So I know people get pumped about that also. So very exciting.
The bookstore beware.
Yeah.
People will come and
This
buy
is your heads up.
those little mini helmets.
Yeah.
They love those mini Sailor Bear helmets.
They'll be prepared. Well, what a week. Thanks for lining it up for us, setting it up for us, and it's just really a special week on the Baylor campus.
Yeah, it's incredible. And maybe go back to this. I've heard rumors that there may be a special moment with the Baylor line and RG3 at the game.
Okay.
Nice.
There might be.
I like that.
We'll see.
We'll
Very
see.
good. All right.
I'll tee that up for those of you who have to get to the game a little early, right?
There you go. There's your cue.
If you're not there by minute 9 before kickoff, you may miss out on something special.
So be in your seat.
So be in your seat and be ready.
Very good. Well, happy homecoming to you.
Yes.
One more thing to mention.
please.
The documentary on Lady has been debuted, right? It's available now.
It has been.
I'm guessing that'll be very popular this week as well.
Yeah, we released it last night, Monday night at 8 o'clock, and it had already gotten a very warm response from our alumni base. For those of you unfamiliar, one of our Bears, Lady, who's 19 years old, which in bear years is a little bit more on the geriatric side. She's an aging bear.
Okay.
And so having some health issues is not going to be uncommon as we kind of navigate these next couple years of their natural lives. And so, but Lady in particular had 2 significant health issues that we had to navigate. And we have these incredible partners at Texas A&M and their exotic animal hospital that did some innovative and technologically just frontline work with Lady. First off, to diagnose her, first with a thymoma, which is a mass around her heart that was about the size of a fist, which they did a topotherapy, which is a radiation treatment that had never been done on a bear before.
Wow.
And it worked.
Wow.
And it shrunk the tumor, and it was able to give her a really high quality of life, because that tumor, had it kept going and kept growing, would have pressed up against her heart and potentially her esophagus and really caused some significant issues. And so that therapy, as innovative as it was just so impactful for her well-being. And then a few months later, Lady had some rear leg lameness, and we started noticing she was not walking well. And ultimately one day she went down, and A&M was so gracious, is in the middle of the shutdown. Their hospital was not operating at normal operations. They took us the next day. Ended up she had a tumor around her spinal cord. And we had this really seminal moment where I'm on the phone with our senior leadership, and like, this could be the day where we have to announce to the world that Lady's no longer with us. And we were preparing for that. We wrote the obituary. We had the memorial. We have a memorial that we're gonna build at some point for these 2 bears, and we have the design or had pictures released. Like, we were ready. But again, they brought in a veterinary neurologist, and they did a spinal surgery on Lady, the first ever of its kind on a bear, and were able to remove the mass. And a year later, she is back to normal.
Wow.
She is walking and climbing and standing up and doing Sic Ems, and she is the girl that we've always known her to be. And so that journey took so much effort. She needed round-the-clock care. She had to be cared for every 2 hours for 2 months.
Wow.
So we had students and staff at midnight and 2 in the morning and 4 in the morning and 6 in the morning coming up and treating her and feeding her and taking care of her as she went through this really incredible recovery this season. But Lady's a fighter. And she we knew it from the very beginning. We didn't know she would make it out of surgery. We didn't know if the surgery would work. But man, once we started catching these moments, these glimpses in her eyes, that just became really clear to us that she was going to be okay. And so our team just really tried to match her resilience and her grit. It cost us some sleep and it cost us some hours, but she fought and we fought together. And now she's back to normal, and we're so thrilled. So anyways, a documentarian chronicled that whole journey.
Wow.
And released a film on it. And we did a premiere on Friday of last week, the Mayborn, and now pushed out to the public last night, and it's a beautiful journey. I would say get some Kleenex.
It's amazing. It is. It is amazing.
It'll touch those heartstrings a little bit.
Where can people find that?
So you can find it on Baylor's Facebook page or Baylor's YouTube channel.
Okay.
It's in all its various locations. You can watch a film. It's 22 minutes long. It's not super lengthy. You know, it's not something you have to lock it down for a couple hours for. But it's a great story, and it speaks volumes about who we are as people of faith, that we care for God's creation. These aren't mascots to us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is a creature created by God that's been given to our stewardship to care and love and nurture. And I think the film really beautifully represents that level of care. And just frankly, our desires for the bears. You know, we have this saying that we use in the kind of the animal husbandry world that you want every animal to have as many good days as possible, but their last day should not be their worst day. Mm-hmm. And those are the decisions that we had been facing over the last 18 months, is that we don't want Lady to ever suffer on our behalf. Hopefully we have the compassion, as much as it would hurt to let her go if that time came. But how fortunate are we that we have brilliant doctors at A&M, that we have incredible partnership with that university, and we have dedicated students and staff who are willing to put in the work to help her. And then, frankly, we have an incredible bear, who just fought like crazy to come back, and we broke medical records here. Things had never been done. A bear had never recovered. We are writing the book on bear care at this point. And so we're incredibly proud and honored and humbled to have been a part of this whole journey.
And now she's here for more Sic Ems and another homecoming.
More Sic Ems. Her, I guess, 19th homecoming.
Yeah,
so.
I love it.
Very good. Well, thanks for your time. Like we said, we know you're very busy, but we appreciate your time, and thanks for sharing. I know everybody appreciates hearing from you and your heart about Baylor and about Baylor homecoming and what it means to so many of us. Matt, thank you very much.
John, thank you. Brooke, thank you so much.
Absolutely. We will be back with more on the Sic Em Podcast in 2 weeks as those students prepare for full-size candy bars from Dr. Livingstone and the football team gears up for their matchup at home against Texas. But thanks again for tuning in to this week's Sic Em Podcast, and we'll be back for more. Happy homecoming.
You've been listening to the Sic Em Podcast. The Sic Em Podcast has been a production of Baylor Athletics.